Hey, what's going on, guys? FlynnMasters coming at you with another video in this chef ranking series. As today, I'll be ranking every chef of season 19. Obviously, the first newbie season in 3 seasons, which makes things a lot easier. Not to mention that this season is pretty damn top heavy in the best of ways. But let's get this list started though with my least favorite chef of the season in Amber. And I've said this before, but when I first watched this season, I didn't mind her too much and thought people hated her just because I need a scapegoat. But yeah, nowadays I can totally see the hate. I mean, she just nonstop complained about being on the blue team and complained to her members for like no reason. Like despite them having good intentions and willing to help her, she just did not accept it. It was so odd. Not only that, but she led the charge against Nikki to outcast her as a weak link early on. And while I do respect her fight, she just should not have been a black jacket chef this season. So when you combine all these negatives, Amber is easily not my least favorite chef of this season. We move on to some really forgettable chefs now, with this chef in particular having a case to be an all-time forgettable chef, with that being Britney. And who the hell is Britney, Like, even her personality was a dud. Like, at least some other forgettable chefs had at least one or two funny confessionals or moments here and there. Britney just had none of that, which is why she lands here at number 17. And we have another very forgettable chef here, but again, at least she had a pretty memorable moment in Fabiola. But that obviously had nothing to do with her, as it was her passing out that was admittedly pretty scary. She was also pretty vocal about Nikki going home, but like I get it, as she was trying to save herself. And we're obviously really glad she went home that night. So yeah, obviously not too much, but it is more than Britney at least. At number 15 is Elliot, who is only this high for being super pathetic. Obviously he was lucky to even get a chance to compete during service in the first place, but despite that, he was completely lost in space, almost like he didn't care. And of course, Liddy told Ramsay he wasn't a better chef than Drew. So yeah, usually with these train wreck early boot chefs, I appreciate what they add to the season early on. And while Elliot still is funny, I do feel like he took someone else's spot who wanted to be there more than him. And speaking of, the person who probably should have been given a chance over Elliot is Kenneth. And while I can't obviously argue with Ramsay's decision to eliminate him after his awful cinder dish and potato gate, man, after seeing Elliot just not seem to care, you just wish Kenneth took his place instead. Not to mention that, of course, he is the first ever chef to not get a chance to cook in the kitchen, so it's definitely a mercy ranking here for Kenneth. At number 13 is Drew, and as someone who knows him in real life, man, it really is a shame he got taken away from us so soon, as I know firsthand how good of a character he could have been. You obviously have his pants falling down moment, which was funny, and of course, I have to pay my respects to him. I have to pay my respects to him regardless for being a medevac, especially this early on. So I think 13, above some of these other forgettable and annoying chefs we've discussed so far, is a good spot for Drew. At number 12 is the 12th place finisher in Josh. And Josh to me is interesting, as he was chill as could be and definitely a contrast from most of the season in a good way. As again, you always need that normal guy that's totally likable as well on a chaotic season. But in general, the fact that he was such an early boot really surprised me, as on paper he seemed like a potential winner pick and definitely a black jacket contender. And it wouldn't have surprised me had he made a black jacket on a less talented season. Not to mention, you gotta feel bad for the dude getting eliminated on his birthday. So somewhat interesting chef, at least in my view, which is why it lands here at number 12. On to one of the most talented early boots in Hell's Kitchen history in Cyan. And Cyan won the punishment pass, was a great challenge and line cook. And, honestly was a great chef in general up until, honestly, her elimination episode. And at her age and on a season like this, I totally respect her and would love to see someone like her get a second chance. As again, generally in my view, one of the best early boots of all time. At number 10 is Lauren, the Cook for Your Life boot this season, who isn't like an insanely good character or anything, but she had a pretty damn good underdog run. And she was also outcasted along with Nikki after the second service, only to be pretty damn good the rest of the season. But what puts over Cyan for me is that she was eliminated in the Cook for Your Life challenge. Again, it's always interesting to imagine how these Cook for Your Life boots would have done had it not been for this twist. Lauren, for all we know, could have been a black jacket. There's no reason why she couldn't have. And so due to that and her general fight on a tough season like this, she's able to sneak her way into my top 10. But the red team member who fought even more than Cyan and Lauren was Jordan, who, I'll be frank, wasn't that good of a personality compared to Cyan and Lauren. But man, she has one of the more underrated underdog runs in Hell's Kitchen history. As from going to nearly the second boot to 7th place on a season like this, you have to give her some serious respect for that, and that's pretty much the only reason why she lands in the top half of my list. But still, mad respect for Jordan. At number 8 is Peter, who's only this high for having one of the more interesting ejections in Hell's Kitchen history. Obviously, flat out telling Ramsay in the middle of service he didn't have what it took, which was absolutely crazy. Like, the reactions were priceless. But at the same time, you have to respect the guy for realizing he indeed did not have what it took to be an executive chef and would rather be a family man. Again, such a sweet guy despite his, archetype. Gave us one of the most iconic moments in the show's history. And again, I just generally respect that, what he did. And that's why he's at number 8 despite being an early boot. At number 7, and I finally have Mark, who was really funny. A couple years ago, I probably would have had him at the bottom of my list, but I've just simply grown to really appreciate what he brings to this season, especially nowadays, as he's still probably the first and biggest villain of the new era, because unlike someone like Amber, who is just whiny and annoying, Mark is just super over the top and adds so much drama to this season in an explosive and the best of ways. Like, obviously in the past, I've not liked over the top chefs, but Mark, let's be frank, he was clearly put on this season to be that fireball, and he fit that role absolutely perfectly. He is just simply one of my favorite villains in the history of the show, which is why he lands here at number 7. But despite me liking Mark for what he adds to the season, he still should have for sure gone home over Adam. I mean, Adam was a frontrunner like the entire season, only to go home after a somewhat bad night on Garnish, and for some reason Ramsay took that as he couldn't leave the kitchen, as opposed to, actually giving him a chance to run the past. I will say, like, he's obviously quite the tame personality. Like, he's almost, but the thing is, like, he's almost so plain and boring that it's pretty funny. Like, you wouldn't expect that when first looking at him. But again, the fact that he finished in 9th place is just so disheartening, which is why he's super high on my list. Like, I have to pay my respects for that. On to the top 5, and at number 5 is the winner of the season and Cory. And again, I know people don't like Cory as a winner due to just not being as exciting of a personality as the Big Four we'll talk about here in a second. But I've always respected her big time for coming out on top to win this talented season despite her age. Still the oldest female winner ever. Not to mention, similar to what I was saying about Josh earlier, sometimes you need that respectable cook in the kitchen to offset all the other crazy personalities on a show like Hell's Kitchen. So obviously not the most exciting winner ever, but a good winner to represent this amazing season in my eyes. Now on to the Big Four of the season, some of the most beloved chefs in the history of the show. And at number 4, I have Cody. And yeah, Cody was such an interesting character, as he seemed like a complete douchebag this season, only to turn it around to be a fan favorite and a dominant chef on the blue team. Obviously, his showmanship with Mary Lou was awesome. His move to nominate himself to get rid of Mark was super smart and genius. It was just an all-around awesome part of this incredible season. But like I said, the reason why he's the worst of the 4 is due to his cocky behavior at the start. And honestly, not only that, but in general, I just enjoy the other 3 chefs above him a bit more. But yeah, I could see Cody literally be my favorite chef on most seasons. At number 3 is Cody's showman's partner in Mary Lou. And yeah, she's very similar to Cody, minus being a douchebag at the start. As from the very beginning up until the final 2, she was always on the go and had her incredible smile on her face throughout the entire competition. One of those rare chefs who can keep it positive at all times. Not to mention that she was arguably even a better chef than Cory. If not the best chef all season. Like, Mary Lou is just simply the full package. At number 2 is who many people think should have won this season, with that being Declan. And while I unfortunately don't think Declan was ever going to win this season due to his age, what a complete beast he was in the kitchen, on the line, and as a leader. And is in my opinion, the best chef of the season, despite not winning. But despite being such a massive dude, who was, honestly, he really was a miniature Ramsay in the way he led that blue kitchen. He could also be a big teddy bear as well. I mean, his reunion with his parents is one of the most emotional moments of all time. Gave some super funny confessionals. Hell's Kitchen's first ever Irish-born contestant. I mean, Declan truly is an all-time great. But the person who is the best, in my eyes, out of all these great chefs this season is Nikki. And Nikki's easily my favorite underdog in the history of the show, as after nearly being the first boot after an awful first service, and then getting outcasted by the red team members simply due to her experience, she would absolutely dominate the rest of the season, and her not getting a black jacket is one of the most annoying, but at the same time, emotional moments in the Hell's Kitchen history. But despite this all-time great cast, Nikki's story and performance stands out to me the most, and that is why she's my favorite chef of Season 19. So there you have it, guys, my ranking of every Season 19 chef. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below, and especially how you would rank the Big Four of this season. And be on the lookout for Young Guns tomorrow. And with all that said, take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.